You've got to get it done, whatever it is. Photos, video, writing, but you're feeling entirely unmotivated. Procrastination is a deadly barrier to getting things done, a deadly barrier to creativity. So today we're talking about 3 reasons why you may be feeling procrastination and solutions to overcoming them. I'm Dylan. Thanks for spending time with Live Life Creative. Earlier this year, I revamped my photography website and even changed my genre of photography, going from event photography to family photography. In the process, I discovered my inner procrastinator, and it just dragged out the process so long, and it really beat me down and got me really discouraged. I learned that it was super easy to get distracted from doing something that I didn't really want to do. Not exactly a mind-blowing idea, but you need to recognize it so you can overcome it. So the purpose of this episode is to help you recognize procrastination, why you're tempted to do it, and tools you can use to beat it. So what causes procrastination in the first place? Normally, you're a motivated, creative person, but there are just some tasks, some types of projects that you just always put off to the last second. You never want to do them. How do you finish those projects? You realize it's hurting you and your creativity, so what's the cause? Source number 1 of procrastination is perfectionism, or the burden of high expectations. Now, if you grew up in a household that, expected the best grades, expected you to be the best in sports, then you might have ingrained in you that expectation to be the best at everything you do. So when you come up against something that you know that you're not going to be great at, how do you respond? What do you do in that situation? One response is just to never do it. You don't even get started at all. After all, you can think in the back of your mind that you won't be good at something, but it's a lot bigger deal if you do try to do something and then you fail at it and everybody sees that you fail at it and then you get made fun of and critiqued and people lose respect for you because you failed at it. Now that assumes that people will criticize you for failing, but in reality, people will respect you for trying something and failing. Even if you're not very good at it, they respect that because they're like, I didn't have the guts to do that. I at least see that this other person's doing it, and I think they're doing a great job. Even though they failed at it, at least they're doing something. Plus, if this is something that you've never done before, you don't know that you won't be good at it. You might assume you won't be good at it, but if you try it, you could be great at it, or at least pretty okay. And then you can continue to develop your skill from there. Another perfectionist response is just to wait for that right moment, that perfect moment to try something when you know that the conditions are just as good as they can be for you to do as well as you can do. But the reality is, there is no perfect moment. If you wait for that perfect moment, you're going to be waiting forever. It'll never come. So what is the solution to beating perfectionism? The thing with a lot of perfectionists is that they tend to think in polarized terms. I'm either right or I'm wrong. I'm the best or I'm the worst. I'm great or I'm terrible. So the key to breaking perfectionism is to breaking that way of thinking. Instead of thinking you have to do all or nothing for a project, think of it in terms of doing all or something. Even if you're new at doing something and you won't be perfect the first time, you've got to start from somewhere. You just got to try it once, got to do it once, go through the process, and then see where you can grow from there. That is still way better than doing nothing, because at least you're making progress. Even if you're making mistakes, that is a valuable time to learn from those mistakes and just to keep refining your process, refining your technique, your skill, whatever you're doing. Concentrate on doing enough or what's necessary for the project instead of going for the big 11 out of 10 points vision of your project that you've got in the back of your mind. Because if you try to go for that 11 out of 10, you might not hit it at all. And if you're a perfectionist and you think you're not going to hit it at all, you're just not going to do it at all. And that is not what we want to do here. We want to do the thing. Now, the second thing that could be holding you back, keeping you procrastinating, is low self-esteem. This is one that I struggle with a lot. I think a lot that I'm not good enough to do something. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the right equipment in the case of making videos or photos or something like that. I always think I need to be more than what I already am to do anything at all. This is a personal struggle for me. It's something that keeps me from getting things done at my day job and from producing this podcast, from producing videos. I think I'm not smart enough or funny enough or entertaining enough to do any of these things. That's a huge struggle. And maybe you are stuck in a cycle of negative self-talk like this. You just think you're not going to succeed at whatever you do. And this kind of thing is putting you off from doing anything at all, from even getting started at all. And I've been there. That is really tough. You fear failure. And that is kind of similar to being a perfectionist. It just comes from different reasons inside of you. But recognize that this kind of negative self-talk, low self-esteem, beating up on yourself like this is something that's going to destroy your motivation and keep you procrastinating and keeping you from getting anything done. So the question is, how do I overcome low self-esteem? And I don't mean just me personally, I mean maybe you too. The key to overcoming low self-esteem is building up confidence in yourself and your ability to succeed. Here's what I suggest. Start writing down things that you've succeeded at in the past. Make this sort of a personal success journal and keep track of the things that you've done well and that you're good at, and then look back at them. I think one thing that really keeps self-esteem low is not recognizing things you've done well and only concentrating on the things you failed at. I personally focus more on my failures than my successes, and this really leads me down a dark path, and I'm sure it has for you too if you've thought the same way. But flipping the script can help you produce some new results in yourself. And I want to say here, it also matters who you surround yourself with. If you're constantly around negative people, you're going to be a negative person. And if you're constantly around people who put you down, you're going to start putting yourself down too. Like, that is not a good thing, right? So fill up your friendships with people who believe in you, who want to see you succeed, that aren't puffing you up, with pride and just like flattering you unnecessarily, but people who just honestly want to be your friend and want you to be a positive person too. And one last suggestion for beating low self-esteem is not concentrating on what other people think. I mean, it's the comparison thing again, right? There's always some people who are filled up with hate, for themselves, for other people. And they're going to express that hate on you, on the stuff that you create. I mean, that's kind of what comment sections are made of nowadays. It seems like it's just hate. So don't concentrate on the haters. Now, there's going to be a huge number of people who are just apathetic. They're just concentrated on their own lives. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but just realize that they're so consumed with themselves that they're not going to look up and see what other people are doing. And they just won't respond to maybe anything you do at all. Like, that is a hard thing to deal with. What I have to remind myself a lot is that receiving hate or apathy doesn't mean you suck. It just means that you should measure your success against your own standards and against what you've done in the past. And finally, the third reason why you might be procrastinating is a little voice inside you that says, "You can't tell me what to do." I think this reaction starts when you're around 2 years old, and it's something that goes on with probably all of us for the rest of our lives. We don't want to be told what to do. And so we're not going to do whatever that thing is that your boss wants you to do or your client wants you to do. I mean, who even likes being ordered around anyway, right? And it doesn't have to be a client or a boss telling you what to do. It could be some guy on YouTube giving you advice. For me, it was the task of revamping my website to attract different clients. Nobody was telling me that I need to change my website. I mean, I realized that on my own, that if I want to find more success in what I'm doing, I need to make some changes to my website. But it was this sense of rebellion against the situation that I was in, that I don't care what the situation is. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. So sometimes you might have a reaction where you know what you want to do, but you've got that voice inside of you saying, "Oh, don't do that." They're trying to make you do something. And instead of doing something productive, you might react by doing nothing at all. That just is procrastination right there. So the question is, how do I shut down that voice? I think that the root problem of that voice is a sense of pride. And so the way to defeat pride is to be more humble. And being humble is not an easy thing to do. So, story time. Earlier this year, I took some family photos for some of my friends, Sean and Kate, and we had a great time. Tons of fun, 2 little boys, is a good time. And I, go back home, I go through the edit, I'm like, "Oh, these are looking awesome. I love these photos." And I send them off, send them the link to the gallery. And a few days later, Kate sent me an email, very nice, absolutely polite, completely within the bounds of reason to be sending this email. And all Kate was asking is if I could re-edit them in a more natural style. And I can hear it right now. At this point in the story, 1,000 photography gurus on the internet cry out in a loud voice and they say, no, don't listen to her. You know your style. She shouldn't have hired you. She didn't like the way you edit your photos. But you got to think about this a second. When you're working for a client, you're providing a service. This isn't your personal art project. You're working with them to create something that they want. So obviously there's a balance here. I mean, yeah, you have a certain style, a certain vision for your photos, and you should be true to that. But on the other hand of this balance, on the other side of this balance, is that it's not your personal creative playground. You're working for somebody for artwork for their own home if they choose to print it or to use online on Facebook or whatever. Like, it's a delicate balance. You've got to be humble to stick to the true balancing point right in there. Now, it didn't feel good to read that email from Kate, but you know what? She was absolutely right. I redid the edit on their photos in a more natural style, and for fun, I compared my original edit with the more natural edit, and she was right. You know, when I compared it, I could really see it. Like, it was just overly contrasty, like people's eyes were way too dark. You couldn't even see their eyes hardly. It was not a good look, really. And it took somebody else outside of me pointing that out. And in this case, it was a client. It might be a coworker. It might be a friend or parents or who knows what, pointing something out to you. And in order to improve and take that advice and to see how you can become a better creative person, you've got to be humble enough to take that and really consider it and listen to it. And maybe you reject it or maybe you do incorporate it. But the key is humility there. If you're just a prideful person, you're just going to reject it completely, and then you miss out on an opportunity to become better. And I hope that your goal is to become better. So my question for you is, which one of these three things affect you the most? Or maybe there's something else that affects you a lot too. I'd love to hear from you. You can leave a comment down below, and maybe we can find a way to help you improve on what's keeping you from doing good work and keeping on procrastinating. I want to say thank you to the website Soul Salt for research on procrastination. I'm Dylan Kreinbrink. Thanks for spending time with me on Live Life Creative. Okay, so I wanted to do a little bit of the behind the scenes before I start shooting the video. So in front of me, I've got the camera. I'm doing more of a flat style lighting this time, I think. And behind me, I've got my desk lamp up. Laptop for my script. Got my printer adorned with some lenses for some stuff. Yeah, that's the behind the scenes for this video.